Ladies and gentlemen of Salt Lake Comic-Con FanX, we are so pleased to announce a man that has heart and soul. And so much of his career is about promoting things, taking care of, unity and making it a safe place for people of all choices to be one with humanity. I'm so proud to announce George Takei.
It's great to be here in Salt Lake City, and there's an enormous collection of, well, this is a hotbed of geeks and nerds, isn't it? Thank you so much for that wonderful welcome. This is a very special year for us, as I'm sure you all know, because 2016 is the 50th birth year of Star Trek. This is a longevity that was absolutely undreamed of. And this is something that doesn't happen to any and every show. This is very, very amazing. It's singular. Because we were a TV series that first went on the air in 1966. And at the beginning of each episode, we announced that we were boldly going on a 5-year mission. During the seasons that we had, we faced a lot of adversaries, Klingons, Romulans, Andorians. But the most destructive adversary that we ever met resided in the corridors of NBC's programming executives. They aborted our 5-year mission in 3 seasons, 3 years. Yes, but we showed them. Because once we went into syndication, they ran Star Trek 5 days a week, from Monday until Friday. And the ratings soared. And we've discovered all of you. And so we came back 10 years after we were canceled, in 1979, and that too was before a good number of you were born, as a major feature film, and now we're a series of feature films. And to celebrate the 50th anniversary, there's another major feature film coming at you this summer. Star Trek Beyond is the title of that. And I've often wondered, what makes Star Trek so unusual? What makes Star Trek enjoy this kind of huge, humongous fan following? And I think I've discovered the reason why. Because Gene Roddenberry, who created Star Trek, looked to the future. Yes, let's give Gene a big round. He said that as long as we have confidence in our problem-solving capacity, our genius for invention and innovation and entrepreneurial spirit, and to try to make this world a little bit better, to expand our pool of knowledge of the world around us, that we can get to that 23rd century where you saw Star Trek. And the other important thing he said was the Starship Enterprise was a metaphor for Starship Earth. And the strength of the starship lay in its diversity, coming together and working in concert as a team. People of many different backgrounds, people from different parts of this Starship Earth, people with different ideas, different histories, different faiths, all coming together. working as a team is going to be what's going to make us great. And that's why we saw that utopian future of Star Trek. But in fact, in 1966, when we came on television, we weren't such a utopian society. The world was turbulent. In the United States, we had the Civil Rights Movement going. We had the Vietnam War going, which was tearing this country apart. Those that supported the war and those that were against. And we had many, many other conflicts. And the greatest of them all was the 60s was when we were at the coldest point in the Cold War. A great power, two great powers, the Soviet Union and the West, glaring at each other, threatening each other with mutual nuclear annihilation. And at a time like that, on board the Enterprise, you saw diversity, including someone who spoke with a Russian accent, proud of his Russian heritage, Pavel Chekhov. And Pavel personified the fact that we could get over even something like the Cold War and reach that utopian 2000 or 23rd century there. We had Africa represented by an African woman, a woman in a leadership position. Chief Communication Officer, played by the lovely Nichelle Nichols from Robbins, Illinois. And she herself personified diversity because she was not just African American. She was also part Cherokee, Native American. And she was also part French. So there was diversity right there in one person. We had Europe, represented by a Scottish engineer, Montgomery Scott, played by Jimmy Doohan from Canada. Now, Jimmy was a great guy. He was a good friend of mine and my favorite drinking buddy. I learned a lot from him. And during one of those sessions, he told me that he's actually of Irish heritage. He was an Irish Canadian. But he told me, I've drunk enough of the libation of Scotland to qualify playing a Scotsman. And I was witness to it. He qualified. And there was that vast portion of this starship Earth, Asia. And he was played by me. From Los Angeles, California. And to really underscore diversity, we had a first officer who was not biracial, he was by species. His mother, as you know, was an Earth woman, and his father was a Vulcan. That is really diversity in one person. Two species come together. And we had the captain of the starship, James T. Kirk, played by another Canadian, Bill Shatner from Montreal, Canada. So infinite diversity in infinite combinations. That was our motto. We reduced it to an acronym, IDIC, IDIC, for infinite diversity in infinite combinations. And this at a time when this world of the 20th century was in turmoil. Civil rights struggle going on, the Vietnam War going on, and the Cold War going on. So we look to the 23rd century of Star Trek as a utopian society. But actually, our society today, as turbulent as we think it is, can be also seen as a utopian society. Because this nation, the United States, when it was founded, It was founded on high, shining ideals. All men are created equal, endowed with an inalienable right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. They were great men who articulated those ideals. But those same great men thought the phrase, all men are created equal, was what they meant, literally. Women had no rights. They couldn't vote. They couldn't own property. They didn't even have rights over their own children. But because determined women and fair-minded men challenged and debated and marched for equal rights for women, that today we've had a woman astronaut lead a team of astronauts and go soaring out into space. We've had 3 women serve as U.S. Secretaries of State. And today, on the Supreme Court of the United States of America, we have 3 women sitting as justices. We've made great progress. When this nation was founded by great men who articulated those ideals, they kept other human beings as slaves. But because those slaves hungered for freedom and justice, and they struggled for it, and because their children and their grandchildren and the generations that followed maintained that struggle through the Jim Crow years and through the years of the Civil Rights Movement, that today we have the descendants of slaves in the halls of Congress as lawmakers. We've had 2 African Americans have served as U.S. Secretaries of State. And yay for that. And in the Oval Office of the White House, an African American sits there as the President of the United States. To the Founding Fathers and people of that generation, we in the year 2016 are living in a utopian world. Utopian worlds are from the perspective of the people that's looking at it. And we see the future of humankind on Star Trek in the 23rd century, living in what seems to us like utopian world. But we too have to struggle to make that a reality, because the people that preceded us struggled to give us this society that we live in today, that's considered a utopian world by people from 200 years before. We have ahead of us the picture of a utopian world, but to get there we have to struggle. And that's why Star Trek was so important. Here we are celebrating the 50th anniversary, and we are planning on getting together to celebrate the 75th anniversary, and then the 100th anniversary. I plan to be there too. My grandmother lived to 104 years old, and I hope I have her genes going through me. She was addicted to green tea, and I've asked that, here it is, green tea be brought up here. I'm following in her footsteps. So we'll be all here, right, to celebrate the 100th birthday of Star Trek. And we will be struggling to create that utopian world that we saw on Star Trek. We will live long and prosper. All right, now let's get into the dialogue. Who's going to conduct the Q&A? I see over here fingers. Oh, there you are. Okay.
Hi, Mr. Takei.
Hi, how are you? You're all.
I'm great. Thank you so much for coming. It's great having you here. I was just wondering, where did the phrase "oh my" come from? How did that whole thing start?
Well, I'm sure you all use the phrase "oh my" all the time too. You know, it's a phrase that we commonly use when we see something nice. We say, "oh my." Or when we see someone with a great idea, we say, "oh my," you know. Or when we see a beautiful sunrise, "oh my," you know. It's a common phrase, and I've been using it all my life. But when my autobiography, To the Stars, came out, you have to do a lot of promotional work to get the word out that my autobiography is published. And one of the assignments I had was to go to a radio station to advertise or talk about my book. Howard Stern. Frankly, I didn't know Howard Stern from Adam. I didn't know who he was. I just had this address, Madison Avenue, to talk about my autobiography on radio. I went there and they asked me to sit and wait in the waiting room, and I was flipping through some magazines. They had the radio on. It was the most disgusting conversation. And I said to the other guy waiting with me, I said, "Why can't they get some nice music on?" And he said, "That's the show we're waiting to go on." Well, right after that, they came to get me, and I walked in, and there in the studio was this skinny, tall guy with a wild mane of hair. And I said, "Good morning." And he said, "Oh, you have a deep voice. Anyone with a voice that deep has to have a big dog." I said, "I beg your pardon, are we on the air?" And he said, "Yep." And I said, "Oh my." Tape. So whenever someone on that show, whether I'm there or not, if someone says or does something outrageous, he just presses a button and my voice comes on. Oh my. So that's how it came to be my signature.
Hi, my name is Soraya. I'm a huge fan. I was just wondering, throughout all the years, who's been your favorite actor and actress to work with?
Well, my very first film happened, I got cast in my very first film when I was a student at UCLA, as a theater student, doing a student play. And because UCLA is right in Hollywood, a casting director from Warner Brothers came to see the play and saw me, and he plucked me out of that and put me in my first feature film, starring, this was Edna Ferber's novel on Alaska, this epic novel that took in 3 generations. And I was cast in a role of a 17-year-old cannery, fish cannery worker. And the star of this show was Richard Burton, this Shakespearean actor from England. He was also playing a cannery worker, and all my scenes were with Richard Burton. And I was still a theater student at UCLA, and here's this big star from England, a Shakespearean actor who's acted on Broadway and on the West End in London, and now doing a Hollywood feature film. And I was really in awe. And our first 2 weeks was on location in Alaska on a fishing pier. And so in between shots, I got a chance to sit with him waiting for our scene, for the set to be ready. And I peppered him with questions about, you know, what's it like being a Shakespearean actor? What's it like being on Broadway? What's it like working with Sir Laurence Olivier? And Richard was someone, he was on a pedestal as far as I was concerned, but he was very down to earth. And I discovered he loved talking about himself. So we were the perfect pair. I was full of questions about him, and he loved answering my questions. And I got to know him very well. And, he'd be regaling me with, when he was working with Laurence Olivier, and the assistant would come and say, Mr. Burton, we're ready for you on the set now. So he would go on the set, and I stand set aside watching him, and he would, transport me out of my heart. It was so powerful. And then the director said, cut, and he would come back, and he would say, now, George, as I was telling you, and just sit down, and he would finish the story. He was fantastic. And he became my idol. So he's still my idol today. And I can say that I knew him before his Elizabethan period. Taylor, that is. So he's still my favorite and my idol movie star. And you asked about
your favorite actress to work with?
Actress? Meryl Streep is still my heroine. She is amazing. Every time you see her, she's a different person. And I've never met her yet. I'd love to meet her. But from all that I've heard, she's very down to earth and a very warm person. Meryl Streep and Richard Burton. Pretty high standards.
Buenas tardes, señor Takei. ¿Cómo estás?
Buenos días. Muy bien, gracias.
Excelente.
Usted puede hablar español. ¿Usted vivía en México?
Sí. En México.
Nací en el barrio mexicano de Los Ángeles. Oh, you understood. Well, that's wonderful to be talking to a bilingual audience. Shall we do our conversation in Spanish?
Sí podemos.
But we don't want to leave you out, those of you who are shameful in monolingual.
En inglés, entonces? In English. My question for you was, you've had a really awesome career, really rad, and you've done a lot of cool things. What is the most rewarding part of your career, and why?
The most rewarding part of the role that I played in my career, I just completed last month. It was a play that we developed titled Allegiance. Thank you, you know about Allegiance. As many of you obviously know, it's about my childhood imprisonment in U.S. internment camps. It's a chapter of American history that I discovered east of the Rockies. People know very little about, if at all, and even less understanding of what that was all about. And so I consider Allegiance my legacy project. It's from a chapter of our history that that gives us an important understanding, appreciation of our democracy. And playing that role, I had two roles. I play an 80-year-old veteran of the Second World War. I went to fight in the war in the European theater, my character, with my family imprisoned in American barbed wire prison camps. And I also played the grandfather of that family. So my hope was that I could create that play when I was young enough to play the young soldier that went to fight. But I had a wonderfully talented young actor, Telly Leong, play the younger me character. And I played the grizzled old veteran at 80 years old. And that role has been the most fulfilling role that I've ever played. I've had other roles that I enjoyed very much. But this is a story that's closest to me, and a story I think that has an important message for all Americans. And I think of it as what my father told me. When I was a teenager, I wanted to understand more about why we were in prison. And he said, our democracy is a people's democracy. And it can be as great as a people can be, but it's also as fallible as people are. And so our democracy, because it's a people's democracy, is dependent on people who cherish the shining ideals of our democracy and actively engage in the democratic process. And then one Sunday afternoon, he took me to the Adlai Stevenson for President headquarters in downtown Los Angeles and introduced me to electoral politics and how it happens. And so there I was, working with other passionate people, actively determined to make our democracy work. Adlai Stevenson, the former governor of Illinois, was an inspiring man, eloquent speaker, and had shining ideas. And we didn't win, but my father said, in a democracy, you don't give up, you keep on keeping on. And so I've been engaged in other political campaigns for U.S. Senate, Governor of California, Mayor of Los Angeles, actively engaged in social justice campaigns. I was part of the civil rights movement, marched with Dr. King, shook hands with him and chatted with him briefly. During the Vietnam War, I was in the peace movement. I was a member of, by that time I was a struggling young actor, and I was a member of the entertainment industry for peace and justice. And in the 70s, I became involved in the movement to get an apology and a redress from the U.S. government for that unconstitutional imprisonment. And it took a long time, but we've succeeded. In 1988, President Ronald Reagan formally, on behalf of the United States, apologized for that imprisonment. So all that is embodied in my two roles in Allegiance, and that's the role that I'm most proud of.
Hello, Mr. Takei. Oh God, I feel nervous. So, I know it's a stupid question, but I've seen you lately in the Taco Bell quesalupa ads, and I have a question to ask.
Have you tasted it?
No.
Oh, you're missing out on something wonderful.
So do you actually like
It is so cheesy. Deliciously cheesy.
So that's first what I was wondering if you like quesalupas, and now I'm gonna go.
I think you'll enjoy quesalupa. Go to the nearest Taco Bell. Where's the nearest Taco Bell here? Right after you leave this convention, you're gonna all inundate Taco Bell.
Hi, George. I grew up watching Star Trek with my family. We
You grew up very nicely.
Thank you. So my question is, just considering all the headlines that we've seen the past, I don't know, few years, I guess, it seems like there's been kind of an uptick in, bullying and violence towards LGBT and just children that are different and that kind of thing. And I just kind of wanted to get your take on, or what you would say advice-wise to people that are going through that.
To violence?
To violence.
I'm against it.
Just any sort of advice as far as growing up and I don't know, not so much ignoring it, but like just general advice to kids who are going through that, I guess.
Well, violence has been with humankind throughout. That's what's been the cause of war, or the result of wars. Our inability to solve problems, resolve them in a peaceful way. Diplomacy is the most powerful tool that we have, but it's not powerful to overcome hate and misunderstanding and all that results in violence. You ask a humongous question because it's been with us. You know, the human animal had two capacities when we appeared on this planet. We had the capacity for the capacity to kill, the killer instinct, as well as the capacity to think. And they were both equally important. We needed the killer instinct to protect our kind and to get our food. But our brains gave us tools with which to increase our ability to kill. We found that if we sharpen the end of a stick, we don't have to get real close to our enemy to kill it. And then we discovered that if you put a string and bent it on a branch and pulled back on it, you can kill a person from farther distance. And our brains kept giving us the tools to kill more effectively without getting that much more involved, to the point where we're now out of balance. The killer instinct is still with us, but we have so advanced in our capacity to kill without getting near the victim. We have bombs that can wipe out half the world, and we can be safe. We have drones that fly all over without us being in it, and we can control it and kill people from a long distance, people that we don't know at all. So violence is a thing that we've got to somehow learn to control with as much intelligence and creativity and problem solving as we've expanded and enhanced our capacity to kill. You're asking me to answer that question? I'm just an actor. But that is the great problem facing all humankind. We can wipe ourselves out. We can make ourselves extinct. All we have to do is press that red button, and this globe will be annihilated. And there will be centuries that this will be a dead planet because of our brain power, our ability to kill each other to the point where ultimately we kill ourselves. Our brain and our capacity to solve problems, diplomacy, has got to be equal to the nuclear bomb.
Hi George, my name is Steven. I'm a huge fan of all your work and everything you've done. I just gotta know, what was your favorite part of playing Sulu?
What was my favorite part about playing Sulu?
Yes.
Well, you didn't get to see too much of Sulu. You know, in the television series, he was actually kind of chained onto that damn console. He didn't get freed from that too often. And when you did see him freed, you got to know a little bit about his passions, his hobbies, what he finds engaging, and you saw that fencing was one of the things he enjoyed. He also had that interest in the killer instrument, the pistol, you know. So he had a lot of interests. Oh, nearest Taco Bell, where is that? Hashtag nearest Taco Bell. So there were a lot of quirks about Sulu, but he was also ambitious, and he kept on trying to improve himself, and until finally in the 6th movie, feature film, that movie opens with a brand new ship, a huge ship, much larger than the Enterprise, the Excelsior, and seated in the center seat, the power seat, is a brand new, bright, young captain. Captain Sulu of the Excelsior. Now that I consider a Captain Sulu movie, although it was titled The Undiscovered Country. It should have had Sulu in the title. It should have been titled Captain Sulu to the Rescue. Because, you know, it's a classic form of a structure of dramaturgy. Beginning, middle, and end. How does it begin? The first scene is on the bridge of the Excelsior with Captain Sulu confidently sipping at a cup of green tea. And then all hell breaks loose and the pounding drama begins. Praxis explodes and this wave comes over. Shields, shields, you know, and the drama begins. And at the high point, when the aging captain of the Enterprise is about to be blown to smithereens. He's being threatened by the Klingons, and they've got him cornered. And the Klingon captain is about to shoot the Enterprise down. And out of a darkened sky, galaxy sky, comes the USS Excelsior with Captain Sulu at the command. Yeah. And he says, target that explosion and fire. And he does, and blows the Klingon ship to smithereens, thus saving the day for Captain Kirk. The ending, the classic ending of all Star Trek movies, on the bridge of the Enterprise. And the captain of the Enterprise, James T. Kirk, looks up at that view screen and sees that giant image of Captain Sulu appear. And he gets up from his chair and looks up at Sulu and says, in essence, thank you for saving my ass.
Everybody, George Takei! Wait, we are going to do a group photo here. Everybody, we do a group photo. All right, guys. You guys want to do a photo right here? We want you to go nuts. Come on up here, right there. Okay, guys, guess what's trending right now? The hashtag nearest Taco Bell. 1, 2, 3, go nuts! Now, you guys, he's returning to his autograph table right now. But if you would like to get a photo, he's doing photo ops at 4:30. That's the only time you can get a photo. Go to his photo op at 4:30 and you can get a picture with George.